So something really exciting happened recently. I saw some serious movement on my Instagram channel. Here's some screenshots of what my analytics currently looks like. And as you can see, the number of accounts that I've reached has increased by roughly 28%. The amount of accounts who have engaged with my content has increased by over 30%. And a stat which is not on the screen is my engagement rate, which basically is the metric that we use to figure out how many of our audience are engaging with our content. It's like what we use to figure out the health of someone's account. And my engagement rate is currently 17%. And just to put that into perspective, for an account of my size, the average engagement rate is normally 2%. So how did I do it, right? How did I get all of these beautiful green plus numbers in my analytics whilst, should I flag, actually working less? I took a whole week off during this past month. So these numbers are even more impressive if I do say so myself. So obviously I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't sit down with a camera in front of my face to break down exactly how I managed to achieve these numbers. That's what today's video is all about. Let's get straight to it. By the way, guys, this video is sponsored by Uscreen, more on them later. So, majority of these results are actually driven by one post. I will say that the overall healthiness of my account has been pretty good recently, but I do think that is in part to thank for this one reel that performed super, super well for me, right? So this is what the reel is. I wonder if you've seen it. Let me know in the comments if you've seen this reel already. At the time of recording, that reel has over 500,000 plays. To put that into context, a good amount of plays for my content and for my reels is around 10,000. Now, don't take that to mean that that should be your benchmark. However many plays you want to be aiming for on your reels will depend on your account size, your niche, whether you're a business or whether you're a personal brand. There are so many different things that go into it. But for me personally, a good benchmark is 10,000 plays. So when you keep that in mind, 500,000 plays versus 10,000 plays is quite a significant increase, right? And one of the wildest things about this reel is that it literally took me a few minutes to create. Like, I don't think it took more than 5 minutes for me to completely finish and have that reel in my drafts ready to go live. It was very quick. So I'm going to break down the three main steps or the three main things I had to consider when I was creating this reel. And those three things can be categorized as strategy, creation, and evaluation. So let's talk about strategy first. So I have a very robust and well thought out Instagram strategy, if I do say so myself. I'm literally a marketer. It'd be really weird if I didn't have one. Now, how every good strategy should work is that it should be anchored in your audience. So every single piece of content you create should be created specifically for one group of people. Now, my group of people are you guys watching this right now. It's people who are content creators or business owners and people who spend a lot of time on social media creating content. I know that's who my audience are. Another thing that I know about my audience is that they use Instagram and social media to be inspired. That's one of the reasons why we open up our social media apps. Whether this is a conscious or a subconscious act, we do like to see content that inspires us because most of us are trying to build a personal brand or build a business. And sometimes we just need a little bit of inspo to get us going. So with all of that in mind, one core pillar of my Instagram strategy is inspirational content, right? That is something that I try to share a lot. And recently I've tried to share more of, partly due to the success of that reel, but also because I have noticed that my audience are just wanting more and more of that content. So I know who my audience are. I know that they respond well to inspirational content. The next kind of element that I needed to look at was the format. And that is basically whether I'm going to share a photo or a carousel or a reel. Now, I'm not really in a growth period of my Instagram channel. I am mostly in a season where I'm focusing on, I do want to welcome new people to my audience, but I also just want to kind of bond with my existing audience. And that's important to know because that does affect what format of content I share. Reels are really, really great for people who are trying to grow, whereas photos actually are better for people who are trying to engage with their existing audience. So because of that and because of that knowledge, I do tend to share a decent split between reels and photos. Like at the moment, it's like 60% reels and 40% photos, but I am slowly shifting it so that we get kind of 50-50 on photos and reels. Regardless, this was a post that I decided I was going to share as a reel because I thought it'd be a really great piece of content that would engage with my existing audience and had the potential to reach a broader amount of people. So I had my audience, I had the value I wanted to share, which was inspirational value, and I had the format. It was going to be a reel. So then I moved on to the next stage, which is all about creation. So how did I go about creating this reel? Well, there's actually a process that I follow for majority of my inspirational reels, just like that one. The first thing that I do is I find a moving image. And what I mean by that is a video that doesn't have a lot going on. That's why I call it a moving image, because it's basically an image, but there's just a little bit of movement in it, right? And the best way to identify like a moving image that you're looking for is usually when the camera is still, but the subject is moving. So if you see the example again of the reel that I ended up using, using. I'll actually put a recording of the original video so you can see it properly. It's actually from a presentation that I was doing in the Apple flagship store in London. And it's like beautifully framed. I have my partner to thank for that. He is actually so good at this stuff. I'm very lucky. It's beautifully framed. He's held the camera pretty much completely still. He does wobble a little bit, but it's fine. It's pretty much completely still. And me, I'm the subject in that video and I'm moving because I'm doing a presentation, right? So that's why it looks like a moving image, because it's pretty still, but I'm the one moving in it. So I love to use videos like this for my inspirational reels. And the reason why is because I know that I'm going to overlay some text onto them. And when you've got a reel that has text on it, but you're still using a video, you've got to be careful that you're not using a video that is too busy and it distracts from the text. It should actually just complement the text because there shouldn't be much going on in the background. So that's the video that I chose to use. And also, FYI, I've used that video at least once, maybe twice, maybe even 3 times on my Instagram account before. And I'll never stop using it. I have it from several different angles and I will continue to use that video for as long as I live. Repurpose your content, guys. That video got 500,000 views. Do you think anyone was in the comments saying, girl, I saw this video before? No, I mean, at least the last time I checked, no one was saying that. Do you catch my drift though? So I found the video. The next piece of the puzzle was the text that I was going to overlay on top of it, which, as I already said, needed to be inspirational. So the text that I decided to use was a quote by Usain Bolt, which is super relevant to my audience. And this is what it says. I trained for 4 years to run 9 seconds and people give up when they don't see results in 2 months. I just noticed there's a typo on that, like on my actual reel. How funny. Anyway, that's a quote by Usain Bolt. I've been aware of that quote for a while. I'm pretty sure it's on a Pinterest board somewhere. And I make a habit of collating quotes or just things that I think of that I think will be inspirational or valuable. I collate all of those like little musings into a note on my phone. And then when I'm ready to sit down and batch create a bunch of content, I just go into the note and I pick my favorites and I use it to create my reels. So I already had a whole list of text that I was going to use for these reels. So I just picked that one and I was good to move on to actually producing the reel. Now, this might shock you guys, but I just used Instagram's Reels editor. I didn't use a fancy desktop program. I didn't use like a third-party app. I just used Instagram because it's quick. I needed to get some content done, so I just used the app. You can just use the app. I've been actively trying to streamline my content creation process recently because I've got new social media channels, I've got a new business, so things need to be like, you know, as efficient as possible. So I used to have a video editor who would create these really amazing reels for me. And she would do them using my own font, like my actual brand font and all this kind of stuff. And as amazing as they were, and, you know, I'll probably use her again in the future, I did not have the time to even be putting together a brief for someone and putting together the footage for someone, because even that takes a while. And I decided I don't need my brand fonts for every single reel that I'm creating. I can just use the Instagram editor app. So I went onto Instagram, I headed to the Reels editor, I loaded my video, I made sure it was no longer than 10 seconds. I think it ended up being 8 seconds, and I'll talk about why that was important later. So it ended up being 8 seconds long. I went to the filters on Instagram and I found a dark filter. I waxed that on and I did that so that you could see the text properly, because you've got to think about the contrast between the text and the background. The background was light, the text was white, so therefore there had to be something dark in between. So I put a dark filter on it so that the background was darker. I then copied and pasted that lovely quote by Usain Bolt using Instagram's own fonts, and it was totally fine. Overlaid it. I then whacked on some music. And if you're wondering, how did I find the music? Was that a long process? No, it wasn't. It took 2 seconds. I literally opened up the music tab and I looked for songs that had that little arrow pointing upwards, because that means that that song is trending. Yes, I could have gone down a very long rabbit hole of trying to find music that is trending at that specific time and not relying on Instagram, but I didn't, because again, I was being efficient. So I just picked a song that Instagram told me was trending, and it turns out it was. So I waxed that on, I pressed next, I typed up a caption, and then I saved it as a draft. Now, you could follow that process and leave it as that. I use a program called Later to actually schedule all of my content so that I get reminders when I need to post certain things. And what I do in that instance is I upload the cover for the reel onto my Later, and then I schedule it for whenever I want it to go live. So I do that so that I can see all of my content for the next month. I use it for my other social media pages as well. I have a whole video where I talk about this in a lot more detail. I'll link to it up here, but that's like a bonus step that I do to keep me organized. Hey guys, future Jade here. Before we move on to talk about the evaluation, the results, and what I did to leverage that successful reel, I want to take a quick break to talk to you about monetization. Someone messaged me after that reel started to blow up and they were like, hey, love this reel. I saw it's doing really well for you. I'm just curious, how much money did you earn from that reel? And I was like, honey, Nothing. And she was like, oh, okay, well then how do you earn money from your content? And I was like, hun, how long do you have? I then went on to talk to her about my different income streams, including my memberships. And I figured, do you know what? I've got to talk to you about it in this video too, because having a successful reel does not equal a profitable business. One thing that can massively help you get to that stage though, is creating a membership using a platform called Uscreen. Now, Uscreen is an all-in-one video membership site for creators. And I want to talk about Uscreen because it is the absolute key to unlocking reoccurring revenue for your business. With Uscreen, you can create your own paid memberships, which include an on-demand video library, live streaming capabilities, and your own community space all in one place. The best part, in my opinion, is that this membership experience is delivered straight to your audience with your very own membership site, TV app, or even mobile application. This allows you to build a brand across multiple devices, so like TV, mobile, website, which helps to increase loyalty and therefore increase your revenue from your membership site. So let's quickly talk about some of my favorite features of Uscreen. The first thing is the mobile app, because this is something that I massively value for all of the memberships that I am currently part of. It basically allows your audience to tap into your membership whilst they're on the go, and it allows you to become part of your audience's day-to-day lives. This means that your community, your live streams, your video resources is all available to your audience with just like a couple of taps on their mobile, right? And you are also able to send push notifications to people who have downloaded your app, which basically means that they'll get a notification on their phone when you're going live or when you've just posted a new piece of content, right? So you're able to not only be mobile with them, but also ensure that you have a way of grabbing their attention when new features are added to your membership. Another super important feature is the community hub. So Uscreen is the only membership site which blends your video content and your community in one. So your community are able to engage in public and private chats, they're able to engage in challenges, and they can even share their own video content too. So community is often one of the most overlooked elements of a membership site, but it's usually the biggest value point of a membership site. Like that's the thing what's going to get people to stay for a really, really long time. Other things worth noting are the fact that you get a huge amount of marketing tools which allow you to analyze your sales data and the overall performance of your membership site. You can own your audience, which means that you have access to email them and speak to them whenever you like without having to worry about pesky algorithms. And all of their data is securely stored on their database. And compared to other membership sites, Uscreen offers a completely different experience. Like I would compare it to Netflix. It'd be like creating your own Netflix for your audience to consume your content in. Like who wouldn't want to do that? And here are some great examples of creators who utilize Uscreen to really build beautiful membership sites. So if you're looking to establish some reoccurring revenue for your business to help you predict your income every single month, to make investments with confidence, and to basically allow you to have a lot more financial security and stability, then I really recommend checking out Uscreen. You can head to uscreen.tv, or of course, you can head to the link in my description to find out more. All right, let's move on to evaluation. This is where we talk about the results of the reel and also kind of what I did or what I plan to do to really leverage it. So I'm going to get out my actual analytics so that you can see the results on the screen. So at the time of recording, it has 505,000 plays. It has 51,746 likes. That's so wild to actually think about 51,000 people seeing that and pressing the like button. There's something which resonates with me more when you look at that like count more than the number of plays, because people can watch something and not think anything of it. But the fact that it got 51,000 plays is actually insane. 88 comments. Unfortunately, I can't see how many people it was sent to. That's to do with like data laws in the UK. And it had 14,217 saves, which again, is incredible, right? So I want to scroll down because there's another metric that I want to talk about here, and that is watch time. This is a newer feature to Instagram where you can see the watch time. Now, I don't find the total watch time that useful. What I do find useful is the average watch time and the audience retention. So the average watch time is 7 seconds and the audience retention is 88 seconds. Do you remember earlier when I said that the video was 8 seconds long and I said that was important? Well, it's important because it's a big reason why the reel was so successful. Having 88% as the average percentage watched, right? So 88% of the video was watched in its entirety on average. That is really high. That's a really high percentage. And because that percentage is high, Instagram's algorithm is going to see that and think, okay, wait a minute, people are watching a lot of this video. People are hanging about for quite a while. This is probably a really good video. And if this video was longer, that percentage would be less. If this video was 15 seconds and it was just a whole video of me doing my presentation and had the text over it, it would probably be more around the 60% mark. And if only 60% of the video was viewed on average, it would not have been pushed out by the algorithm as much. So by that logic, I can also assume that if I had made this 7 seconds long, that percentage would have been higher rather than 8 seconds. And I know that 7 seconds is a good length. I don't know why I didn't make it 7 seconds. I obviously just forgot about that for a second. But 7 seconds is a really great length for that format of content where you've got a little bit of text over a moving image reel. If I'd made it 7 seconds, the average percentage watch probably would have been around 95%. And who knows, maybe it would have reached 1 million plays rather than the pathetic amount of 500,000. No, I'm kidding. Obviously, that's a lot, right? But interesting, right? I'm sure quite a few of you will also be wondering, well, did I grow as a result of it? Because unfortunately, it doesn't show you how many followers you gained purely from that reel like it does with your other content, like your photos, for example. I'm sure that metric will come soon. But the answer is yes, I grew by around 1,000 followers, which is a decent amount. However, I will say that if a different video went viral, I would have grown by a lot more. For example, if one of these videos, my talking head videos, which are usually cut downs from these videos actually, if one of those gained 500,000 plays, I would probably expect to gain between 5,000 and 10,000 followers. And the reason why is because those videos are a lot more specific. I am literally talking about some kind of YouTube tip or like monetization tip. So therefore, because it's so specific, the people who would have seen that and interacted with it would be my exact kind of people. They'd be the exact audience I'm trying to get the attention of. And therefore, they'd be a lot more likely to follow me afterwards because they'd be like, wait a minute, I need more content like this. Whilst the post that we're talking about today was obviously targeting a specific audience, that audience was slightly broader than some of my other content. Because realistically, you don't have to be a content creator or entrepreneur to see that quote and it resonate with you. This would resonate with anyone, right? And I love that about that piece of content. That's part of the reason why it did so well. But because of that, a lot of people would have seen that video and thought, this is a nice video. I'll give it a like. I might save it, but I'm not desperate to follow this person to see more videos like this because it's not directly speaking to me or a very specific pain point. So I hope that makes sense. I actually have a whole video on like the cons of going viral and what you can do instead to actually help with growth, which I'll link to up here because it's a really interesting one. Okay, so lastly, I just want to talk about how I leveraged this reel because a lot of the time when I work with different creators or business owners, they say to me, Jade, I've got a reel that's going viral. What do I do? Like, I'm stressed about it. I can't sleep. Like, I'm really feel like I'm not leveraging this viral reel. I did not do much, and I don't think you should either. This idea that we need to jump on this reel and quickly create like an ebook related to the reel or just figure out some way to leverage the reel because otherwise when we'll ever have this chance again, this is our moment to shine. I don't like this way of thinking. And the reason why I don't like it is because it's telling yourself that you will never have another viral moment. And that's simply not true. Instead of seeing your viral post as the only opportunity that you'll ever have to reach a lot of people, I want you to see it as evidence that you have the skill set to make more viral content. Look at it that way instead. When I saw that that post was picking up, I thought, oh, that's nice. And then I left it alone because I only look at my analytics at the end of each month. If you stare at your analytics too much, you'll start to attach meaning to them and it will start to become more of a problem, right? So I looked at it and thought, that's nice. And then I kept it moving. In fact, I took a week off shortly afterwards to go to Mexico. I even stopped posting during that week. I literally stopped posting. I told my audience, guys, I'm going on holiday and I just don't want to worry about like anything. Even if I'd scheduled content, it was going live by itself. I don't even want to have an awareness that content is going out. So I literally stopped posting completely. And I'm telling you this because nothing bad happened. The post continued to do well. It continued to thrive whilst I was away. When the time came for me to actually look at the post and see how it's doing, I took some learnings from it. I realized, this format is doing well for me. I'm going to continue having it as part of my strategy. Quotes do well for me as well. Maybe quotes are having a bit of a comeback in a slightly different format. The point is that I took a few learnings from it, but I very much just kept it moving. And a final thing for me on that, whilst I was super happy and excited about the success of the post, I really was careful with how much I let the success of the post dictate my mood. And the reason why is because if you let a successful post be the reason why you're happy for 2 weeks, when you have posts that don't do well, which will happen, you will also let that be the reason why you're unhappy for 2 weeks. So celebrate your wins, yes, 100%, but do not attach an emotional, personal meaning to when your content goes up and down because that is just a slippery slope. All right, guys, so that's the story of my successful month on Instagram. I hope you found that useful. Let me know in the comments if you did. If you feel like hanging around, I recommend watching this video. It's all about how you can create your Instagram strategy in just 5 minutes. Do not forget to check out Uscreen via the link below or just to visit uscreen.tv if you're ready to start earning reoccurring income as a creator. Thanks so much for watching. As always, I'll see you in my next video.